Have you ever made $1 million with your talent? Have you ever fucked a bitch that's so fat lose your balance? Have you? All these bitches washed up, all they pussy got that mileage. Ew, I been getting money on the Lambo.
What's good, you guys? Your boy Black Clover, and today, welcome back. I got another Black Clover video, chapter 99 review, and this chapter was called Family. So to start off, we're going to talk about the pacing of this chapter. The pacing was relatively slow. We open up the chapter, we see kind of where we left off at, with Aster coming towards Vanessa and Noel with his sword, basically, in his new power-up form, controlled by the Queen, and the Queen chooses for him to kill Noel first. So he goes towards Noel, and she's like, well, how about it's fitting for a royal to die by this sword. A little foreshadowing. I can't actually wait to see what's being foreshadowed, but that you can tell that's foreshadowing. There's something that happened with the royals, and with whatever grimoire that Aster has, that it's kind of linked that only a certain amount of people right now in the verse knows about Aster's powers and Aster's grimoire. And one you can seemingly say is the Queen, but you can also say the terrorist group that I can't even think of their name no more. But Light and his disciples. Light actually was discussing that I think Aster pulled out the swords and was wielding the swords because it belongs to their quote-unquote master. So that is something we'll find more about later on in the series. So right now, I'm kind of excited about that. But yeah, so the Queen, she says it's befitting for Aster to kill Noel with the swords. Just when he's about to swing, however, seemingly he stops short or misswings. But I personally believe that Aster, with his will and quote unquote power, probably a friendship power, is kind of fighting off the Queen's magic. But I'm not sure, because later on in that same panel, Noel says that she will dispel the quote unquote weak trifling magic from Aster. Now, this is funny because the Queen then laughs and says, whether he's unconscious or not, I can still control him. And he proceeds to control Aster, and he's going back to kill Noel. That's when Vanessa, however, steps in, and Vanessa, she states that she will be willing to give up herself if her comrades can go. So Vanessa kind of is willing, like, take me. I'm the one who's from here. Seemingly, I'm the one you want. Save my friends. They're too young. They shouldn't go through this. But the Queen's ruthless and cold-blooded, and she's like, no, I will use him to wipe everyone else out. And silly girl, she proceeds to tell Vanessa that this was her fate. Her fate was to bring Aster here to the Queen, so the Queen can have control over Aster and the sword. But we then get Vanessa's flashback, and in this flashback we see that Vanessa and the Queen are mother and daughter. The Queen is Vanessa's mother, and Vanessa's actually held captive in a cage. I want to say in a cage in like a palace, but we see Vanessa talking to the Queen. She doesn't even address her as mother. She addresses her as Your Majesty. And Vanessa basically wants to see the world. She doesn't want to be confined into that cage, and she wants to see the world. But the Queen has her there until she can develop, let's say, the power, the magic, the control, the magic to control fate. So that's what the Queen is after for Vanessa. She tells her that her divination foresaw that Vanessa would be able to wield this power, and she's trying to provoke her, like trying to have her use it for the Queen's good. So the queen is only interested in people if they can have power that she can take up. She can take. So you see that with Aster. She was really intrigued by Aster, and she proceeded. That's the only reason why she healed him, so she could take control of his body. And presumably, the only reason why she cares remotely anything about Vanessa was seemingly for her ability to control or change fate. But as we see in a flashback, Vanessa is struggling with that ability. She's struggling to reach that ability. She's struggling to cope with being in that tower, being captive for how many, we don't know how many years it was she's been in there. She's just probably been there isolated, only sees the queen or her mother, and then the thread figures we see she talks to. That is until somebody busts through the hole. So, and that somebody is Captain Yami. They had a little back and forth. She says she wants to go see the world. She wants to escape, but it's her fate to be in that cage. It's her fate to be there. And Yami says, "Ah, yes, Mr. Fate." He talks about how he hates fate and how he does his own thing, essentially. And he basically tells her to take her fate and put it in her own hands. And the flashback ends when she leaves with Yami, and she becomes a member of the Black Bulls. And as like she's remembering everything, she's remembering that the Black Bulls are really what came around her, and like now she's looking and watching her family seemingly being killed right in front of her, and she won't be able to stop it. That's when she herself erupts. Well, not even really erupts. She just says enough is enough. She yells at the witch. She says, "I will not let you kill my family. You're not my..." Well, first she says, "You're not my family. The Black Bulls are my family, and I will not let you kill her." And then that's when we seemingly get a Vanessa power up. Vanessa's power up actually is the ability to control fate. And spoiler alert, or whatever. She the thread starts moving around her, and it manipulates itself or the thread manifests itself into a red cat. And that's where the chapter ends off, as the cat is manifested. Vanessa and the queen both look shocked, and the queen says, "Oh no, it is the red thread of fate." But we seemingly see Vanessa unlock her true potential. And one of my things about this is this the power up needed to beat the queen? I can actually see that. Well, my prediction that it is. The power is called ability to change fate. So seemingly what's going to happen, what I think is going to happen within the next chapter, or chapter 100. By the way, we're heading to a chapter 100. All you people who hated on the series and said it was a ripoff of Naruto and really didn't want it to go anywhere, chapter 100. I hope we got hundreds of more chapters to go. But heading into chapter 100, what I think is going to happen is Vanessa's going to use her power and overwrite the fate of Aster, and overwrite seemingly the witch's control of Aster. And Aster's going to defeat the witch. Well, that's what I get from it. But we can only find that out next chapter. As far as next chapter, though, well, as far as this chapter, I want to say it did a really nice job with characterization of Vanessa. We got to see, with Vanessa's backstory, quote unquote, we got to see her relationship with the queen prior to her running away and her coming back. So, like, we seen the relationship with the queen during this arc when she came back, and it was a little rocky, and the queen whooped her ass in that battle. But we got to see the flashback and kind of why it was like that. I really want to see the flashback before she got put in a cage, unless she was in a cage her whole life. But we see that the queen is essentially her mother, and because she's her mother, she feels like she owns her, and she owns the ability. She owns Vanessa's ability to change fate, and that's why she was locked up. That's why she was pissed that Vanessa ran away. The queen seemingly wanted that ability to change fate. She doesn't care. Well, she seemingly doesn't care about Vanessa. She doesn't care about anybody else except herself and gathering power. That's all the queen cares about, seemingly. So that's a little bit more characterization for her, and then, well, for the queen. And for Vanessa, basically we see that she really wanted to. She views the Black Bulls as her family, and of course it's the friendship power up thing, but it was foreshadowed by the queen apparently. Well, not really. You kind of, once that flashback dropped, I kind of knew that Vanessa was going to get the power up. Going into the chapter, I knew somebody was going to get the power up. It's fitting that it was Vanessa. His characterization is, honestly, this is quote unquote Vanessa's arc, if you want to be truthful about it. So it's obvious. It was relatively obvious that Vanessa was going to get the power up. Although I was kind of intrigued. I thought Captain Yami or some more of the Black Bulls would come to the rescue, and it would be a kind of Captain Yami versus Aster, or Captain Yami versus the Queen. But we're going to see, at the moment, as far as we know, we're going to see Vanessa v. the Queen, Vanessa's potential unlocked. So the characterization of Vanessa is we get a little bit more her backstory and how she grew up, why she's the way she is, when did she join the Black Bulls, why did she join the Black Bulls. We see all that. It was seemingly because Yami is her savior figure, or she kind of sees Yami as a savior figure. Yami told her to change her own fate and not wait around if she wanted to. Like, if she wanted to change her fate that bad, that she would do it herself, and she got up and she left. So we got a little characterization as a savior figure for Yami. Vanessa, her determination, her will to not let her friends die, her family die, quote unquote, and unlock her hidden potential. We see the Queen. She's always been who she is who she is. Like last chapter, he is who he is. The Queen is who she is. She's always been a power-seeking, maniacal, terrible person. She's a terrible person. Anybody who but keeps their daughter captive is a terrible person. So, yeah, we see the Queen. She's doing her thing. Seemingly, we're going to have a face-off with Vanessa versus Aster, or Vanessa versus the Queen. I believe Vanessa will find a way with her powers to override Aster's, override the Queen's control of Aster. Let's put it like that. So, that's all for this video. Thanks for viewing. Drop a like, comment, and down below your thoughts of this chapter, your thoughts of the arc in general, your thoughts of the series. And that's it. It's your boy Black Rob Lucci, and I'll see you guys for the next video.
Have you ever made $1 million with your talent? Have you ever fucked a bitch that's so fat lose your balance? Have you? All these bitches washed up, all they pussy got that mileage. Ew, I been getting money on the level. Hey, I might just knock if you bucket. Hey, if you survive, then you're lucky. Hey, pocket they getting so pudgy. Hey, everything about the money. Hey, don't try me, yeah. Clip on limousine, yeah. Drinking lean, yeah. Promethazine.